Sometimes there were science exhibits. So this is trying to give you a visual example of what we cannot see. If you recall in the last chapter, we held up 2 flashlights, one big flashlight, one small flashlight, to indicate what is there. We know it by symptoms, but we cannot see the soul. We cannot see the super soul. This chapter is very important because we're all sitting here, bound up. Krishna, that was pretty emphatic. I didn't do that. We are all sitting here bound up by the 3 modes. We cannot see them. We cannot see them. So the particular purpose of this presentation is to give you 3 mindsets today. How many? 3. When you walk out of here, we want to help you have divine vision, right? I'm not able to give divine vision, but try to give you at least a contextual reference for what it is you need to know is there, even though you don't see it. And also to give you an understanding of how this is the question of human life. Where did we come from? This chapter answers that question. How do we act while we're here? And where do we go when we die? This is the beginning of human life. This is the inquiry that is the demarcation point between animal and human consciousness. So I assume all of you sitting here have had many realizations, right? And we hope that today this is really meant to be a science exhibit. That you walk out of here with those 3 new paradigms, okay? So can we show that slide, Abai? This is the purpose today. We're stating it right away. We have 3 areas that are going to be analogous. How many? 3. The first one is medicine. The field of medicine. These are parallel and they are perfect. This chapter lends itself to perfect analogies, not partial. 100% perfect. Medicine means disease. How do I recognize and treat what? A disease. The middle one is art. Art is represented through the qualities or the what? What's there? The modes. These are the qualities. And the third one is theater. All of us are conditioned by strings that we cannot see. So we're going to see many slides of puppets. They're caricatures. But actually, when you think about it in Kali Yuga, they don't look that much different for most people walking around. It's not meant to be a lampoon on anybody, but it's just to open our eyes on what constitutes a particular body and what's moving that body. And what's moving all of us sitting here? Strings. Do we see them? No, but we want you to imagine them from the time you walk out from then on. And you should be able to diagnose the disease. That's the just chapter. Krishna is the perfect doctor. He's diagnosing the problem and he's telling you its symptoms. And Arjuna is going to ask him, well, what's the solution? So all of you to some degree or another are participating in that solution. You've come to Krishna consciousness. That is the answer. There is no other answer. Otherwise, you just stay in the modes, rotating up and down and up and down. And we don't want to do that, okay? We also have an important chart over here. This is the whole creation. And I'm just going to give you, again, mindsets. The purpose of this chart is the importance of human life. Only in human life can you have choice. Higher and lower life forms are forced to live out either pious or impious activities. Human life is the junction, and you have freedom of choice. So this is very important, because I wanted to ask if 100 years from now we could communicate with each other somehow, right? We're not going to be in these bodies for sure, unless any of you here is a big yogi. If we could communicate 100 years from today and say, Mataji, where are you now? You ask yourself, where would I like to be? Because it is our decision. It's a conscious moment by moment decision. It's pretty scary. We don't want to scare you, but we want to help people, even devotees, open their eyes to a very important truth. This chapter is quite important. Krishna says it's the best of all knowledge, and if you know it, he promises perfection. So that's what we're all here for, spiritual perfection. Okay? And the other mindset, that one's choice. This one is for the science, disease. The ribbons, the mindset for the ribbons, because they look pretty, don't they? Why did she put the pretty ribbons there? This is the danger of the material energy. It's an inauspicious mask. And it presents things to us wrapped in a package, right? Package. And the package may look very beautiful, right? Especially like in the higher planets, everybody looks very beautiful. Or even in this planet, there may be places that are very beautiful. Scenes. Prabhupada said one sunset can bring you back, one bangle can bring you back. Ooh. So these are the different ribbons on the packages that the external energy wraps, covers the diluting potency. And if you open the box, what happens? You're trapped. We have a picture later of a particular plant. It's called a Venus flytrap. It's a plant that's non-veg. It eats insects, eats them. Pretty scary looking too. So this whole material energy is entrapping. We're entrapped. So we have to not be terrified, but we have to be realistic, and we have to know, well, what's the solution? Obviously, we're all sitting here. We're in a fortunate position, and we are obliged to help other people be fortunate as well. So you have all the mindsets now. Medicine, disease. We are talking about diseases. We're not talking about something sweet. And art, how did material nature give us these bodies? She's a big artist. Very good artist. And you'll see, we have short videos for each one. And the third one is theater, strings. All of us sitting here, I want you all to slowly lift your right hand. Were you able to do that by yourself? No. Put it down. No. You can't lift an eyelid by yourself. Everything is on strings being mounted by the higher planets. Okay? So are you ready? We're going to start off before we look. I think enough people are here too. Let's look at the little. We'll look at our study guide, because that's usually our first step. We don't want to get off. I want this to be different, but also I want it to be a little bit fixed so we don't get too carried away. We had to put the packet in two parts. It was getting too voluminous for the staples. So what you have here is the basic information, right? And then here you have the appendix. Charts are in here, and we're not going to try to go over all of them, but you have a lot of helpful charts, one of which we're going to be using in chapter 17 and also in chapter 18. Because this topic is actually not restricted to the 14th chapter. The topic of the modes covers most of 17 and a large important portion of chapter 18. So we won't be delving into that, but we'll just be giving you an idea of how important the modes are to us, because we are sitting here conditioned by them to a greater or lesser degree according to our purification and our understanding. So hopefully this class will help each of us elevate. We have that possibility of elevating. Okay? And we have done something special. We're always trying new things. If you noticed, you have on each page, you have the chart twice. So it's meant to be a retention building packet this time. Rather than just give you information, you have a way to test yourself and write in, right? So it's called filling in the blanks. So for instance, on Gyan Yoga, below that you see Gyan Yoga, but you see the empty blocks. So what you can do is you can look at it and you can put your hand on it and you can say, oh, I know that, and I can fill it in, and then check yourself. All of our charts have been done that way, wherever we created a chart. If you see the charts, we always do the stepping stone charts. These are traditional. We have the circles, But below them we have a circle with the first initial to help you. So the first word, that's the word that we chose, essence word, was declare. Krishna is now going to declare that this knowledge is the best, the supreme wisdom by which the sages all attain perfection. So he's doing his motivational section there. And below there's a D for number 1. So what we're going to try to do with some of these is see if we can actually build our retention powers. There are ways to do that in study skills. It's just a matter of like yoga in the morning. You just have to get the muscle working a little bit. So all of our charts are like that. And some of the charts are interspersed throughout. So what we have here again, on the first section you have the title. And what's the title of this chapter? The 3 modes of material nature. Okay, we hope this chapter comes to life today. Otherwise, actually in many cases it's repetitive. The same words, knowledge, illusion, illumination, despair, they're coming up again and again. So that might get us sidetracked from the essence. The essence is we need help. We need help. Okay? So on the back of the cover, we have another exercise chart. Okay, and we'll try to work on, you see the 3 sections here, and the first one is for chapter 14, 4 topics here. That first section is general. This chapter, Krishna presents general descriptions of the modes, most general, just the way our study guide, it starts from general. In the middle section in chapter, keep back to that chart. In the middle section, he talks about external manifestations in the 17th chapter. You have that? Go back to that chart. We're here. Yeah. The middle one. There are 6 in chapter 17. There are 6 manifestations of the modes that we can witness externally. Food, faith, worship, sacrifice, austerity, and charity. In the 18th chapter, it's more subtle. We will see the manifestations there, not so visible, but we feel them. It's on the mind platform, the subtle body. Determination, happiness, understanding, knowledge, renunciation. These are harder to detect. You can see how a person's worshiping, right? You can see how he's before. You can see the food he eats. But these other ones, what's his determination? What's his understanding? What's his knowledge? You may not be able to detect that. So the 18th chapter is critical, and actually Gyan is critical to coming to Brahma-bhuta, which is the demarcation of spiritual life. That begins our devotional service. We're practicing right now in the sadhana bhakti stage. So is everybody on board? And you find these gels. I hope if you go home, you'll try some of these exercises on yourself. I mean, we could spend all the period doing that, but I think we have what I think more interactive things to do today that will drive the points home more effectively. Okay, so here we have again devotional service, and just to see this first section, you have a study bank, and it's your lab report. It's the lab report on this chapter. I just had to go to the hospital twice this past week, and I had to fill out a form just like that. My name, my age, my problem, my passport number. So this is the first stage. It's a little dry, but essential. And it's the foundational understanding of going further. Then we always have the slokas in there for your benefit, and we've boldfaced what we thought were content words. So we use that point. First, content word. Content means these are mostly the nouns or the important verbs, and they have the essential meaning carried there. Other words are called the syntax. They hold it together like glue. Okay? So that constitutes 3 sides, plus there's a chart there. We're going to memorize the structure of this chapter. Then we have the key memory verses. There are, in this one, 7. And they're easy to remember. We'll show you ways to make all this a little easier. Okay, we want to know which verses are important. We have 2 key memory, and we have 5 that are thematic, key thematic verses. Preachers are encouraged to memorize those. Okay? And then on the back, you have a chart. Again, we've tried to make this whole thing an activity book for you. So you have the numbers here. 4 is a key memory verse. 6, 7, and 8, that's easy to remember. 6, 7, 8. Those describe the 3 modes. They're conditioning factors. And then you have 18, that emphasizes how one is bound again. And then 26 is a memory verse. They've been hearing classes, giving classes on that two times. Very important verse. And that's about this, how to transcend these modes. And 27 is how actually Krishna is the basis of the Brahman. It's subordinate to him. Very important understanding, especially in India. They often stop at the Brahman as being the ultimate realization. Okay? So after that, this looks pretty, perhaps overwhelming, but we have definitions, many pages. It's your index, glossary. You go through there, and we've highlighted the topic, and again, by subdivisions, any words that Krishna has emphasized or Prabhupada has defined, you'll see them there. And if I find it's a lengthy section, I try to break it up with numbers. So you see, okay, this is the mode of ignorance. He has a good 13 points there. When Prabhupada's speaking about the mode of ignorance in the purport, he itemizes 13 points. So if you want to delve further into that, and some of you who are students at the VIG, or you're studying or taking Bhakti Shastri classes, you can, if you really break something down, then it's easier to put it forth again as a response on a question, either preaching or exam. Okay? All right, then the analogies and examples, we have about 5 slides that are specifically analogies. Examples are many. I just write everything, and there's no time really to produce a slide for all, but we have many example slides. And those are also divided according to the 3 topics. This chapter has 3 topics, 3 modes, and in many ways the number system is brilliant. I don't know, I guess Krishna is perfect. I think this chapter is amazing. I hope you find it amazing also. A values objective checklist. This always becomes quite lengthy. The most important section is the final one, how to transcend the modes, because that one is very specific, line by line by line. Prabhupada gives, you must be able to do this, you must be able to do this, you must be able to do this. He says, otherwise there will be no symptoms. It's not something we can fake. We actually, until we're transcendental, you cannot fake it. This cannot be faked. Then a verse question bank. This is fun for you also. If you read a sloka, you can refer to this or keep it open, or if you're watching the slides, and then ask yourself, after I heard this sloka, the Supreme Personality of God said, again I shall declare. And see if you can you don't have to write it in, but just see if you can fill it in, because you may not be able to memorize them all, especially the English. It changes with various editions. Sanskrit, this little boy I know knows 5 chapters, huh? I just met him the other night. Please bless us, huh? Great soul, and he likes kirtan. So we have lots of exercises for you to do in your own study, or with a friend if you like to study with a friend. Okay, in the back, scripture references, not so many, a few again, and then a little inventory on this chapter. The chapter number, verses, questions. Arjuna speaks 1 verse. He asks 3 questions, but he, again, invites Krishna to go further. Krishna's now given us the symptoms of the 3 modes. Now we want the symptoms of how do we transcend them, and what will be the evidence of that. Okay? And you've got your other charts here. This one, again, is the Gyan Yoga section. We're in that. 6 chapters. And you see the little circles. You'll see the number. We're in 1427. And the little trick for that one is 2 times 7 is 14. Okay? Always, I mean, numbers require a little bit of mental gymnastics to remember them. But 14 is the multiple of 2 times 7. And that's how many slokas we have. Okay, 27 verses. These charts are old charts I used to do. They're quite valuable, but we're not going to go into them. They're a little bit, I find the slides easier for audiences to assimilate. But it is all 3 modes in 3 chapters. 4, 6, 7, you'll see. And then what I did was I took a VIHE chart, but I put little cartoons in there, just so, again, it's just not content overload. Okay? And then on the back you have a mind map, front and back, of chapter 14. I used to focus on doing those for many years. Now again, because of technology, telephones, slides, people are oriented differently. So you have to adjust according to the time. Okay? Everybody all set? We're ready to go. All right, the first things we do is establish the information. So I'll get the little slate out because, again, the stronger the foundation, again, it's a retention building process. If I have a strong foundation, then I can build on it. If it's weak, then I have a hard time anchoring specific details. So we all know that the title of this chapter is called what? The three modes of what? Material nature. So everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. We always check, right? You check for understanding. If you're working in a group, you can see. Thank you. Feedback is important. Right. Okay, everybody knows that. All right, and everybody knows the chapter number. And what's the chapter number? 14. And how big is it? 27. Okay, so we say now 1427. Okay, when I'm referring to chapters, I always say the number. That way you get, you you sort of, like a suitcase, you try to pack in as much as you can. All right. All right, now we also know that this chapter has 3 divisions. Very handy. 3 modes and 3 divisions, right? So let us go to the chart that shows that, because this is very important. It's the topic breakdown. That's our next step. And on your little study guide, I forgot to tell you, you can put in these codes. You all have, let's turn to that page now. I'm getting a little carried away because time goes quickly and I have to keep my thoughts straight. Let's, if I show them quickly the first page of the study guide. On that, I'll go back to that also. Let's take that, you can write in. On the line that says chapter title, you can put 3M and then MN. 3 modes of material nature. Please use codes. Codes go quickly. Okay? The 3 modes of material, that's the title. And on the line, what section are we in? What section? Yan. So put J, Y. Just fill in this is your lab report, your medical. This is your medical analysis of this chapter. And the anatomy also. Okay? Gyan Yoga. All right, has everybody done that? Now, we probably don't have enough charts for everybody. In the past, we were making too many, and only a few people showed up, and so we cut back, and now a lot of people come. It's Krishna's playing with us, okay? Secret is come early, because we cannot really increase. All right, and how big is this chapter? What's the size? 27. So now you have your building blocks in place, right? You're going to build a little thing, and your building blocks are in place. Now we want to know how many topics are in this chapter. Krishna is going to discuss. He's very intelligent. Did anybody know that? That Krishna is very intelligent? He's very intelligent. So he speaks well. He knows how to present things, and he does it systematically. And he cites his references. And he doesn't give you false promises. If he's telling you this is working, it's not a bluff. Advertisers will promise, but it's a bluff, right? Okay, so we have 3 topics here, and we'll go to that chart. And you're going to write those in on your study guide. Okay? On your study guide, you're going to write 999. That makes it easy. All 3 sections are perfectly divided into 9 verses. Okay? And 3 9s total what? The math that works. We had a cross-reference there. 27 slokas. Each section is 9 slokas. Now you think, did somebody from the VIG just guess at this? No, Krishna very clearly makes it evident by an introductory sloka, by a concluding sloka, and then he shifts quickly to the next point. Okay, now let's look at these, because these are the codes that we're going to put into place so that we easily know the sections. The first section, we have 9 slokas, and these are going to be the 3 modes. How do they condition? You see those little stars? 3M. The important thing here, he does many things in this section. He tells us how we got here. And he tells us how the modes are keeping us here. That's pretty serious. He tells us how we got here, And he tells us how the modes condition. That means they bind us and keep us here. Serious problem. Everybody who's sitting here, it is guaranteed that you are under the dictation to some degree or another of the modes unless you're transcendently situated. And that's Prabhupada for sure. But the rest of us, we're trying to get there, mostly. Maybe somebody sitting here is perfected. I'm not ruling that out, but I'm saying chances are good we need help. So this section is, are we getting a buzz? 3M, okay? The three modes, what do they do? Bind us. How are they keeping us here? That's her business. We can't let somebody unqualified break through the gates. You have to have qualification to get in. Okay, the next section, we see Chad. I like Vaisheshika says chapter a day. This doesn't mean chapter a day. CH means characteristics. Krishna's now going to develop this section. He's told you how we're here. Now he's going to tell you the symptoms. And it sounds a little bit repetitive. What are the characteristics? What are the actions? How does it develop? What are the results? And where do we go with death? So A is for actions and their results. D is for destination or death. So that's covered in 9 slokas. Chad. Can you all say that? Chad. He elaborates. And each sloka covers all 3 modes. In goodness, this happens. In passion, this happens. In ignorance, this happens. See, the purpose of this class is to help bring together all of the separate things you've heard. Now, the last section is important because now we've heard the symptoms of what got us here and what keeps us here. But now we want to know the symptoms is how do we get out? Right? If you're trapped, an intelligent person will want to get out. If you're in a cage or so, you're encaged. Come on, these bodies are cages. They're not something pretty to decorate. That's the illusion. Most people walking around decorating the body and absorbed in the body, and you can tell they're not reading the book. Even devotees, you can tell. Are they reading the book? I don't think so. Or they wouldn't be doing that necessarily, maybe, but. Okay, so the last section, and here we have it shown in picture form. Transcending the modes. What are the symptoms? That means your inherent qualities that you've acquired at birth. How do you behave? How do you interact with not only inert matter, but with people? Pebbles, stones, and gold. And how do you deal with people? That's higher. It's easy to deal with pebbles, stones, and gold. They're not going to fight back, but a person's going to fight back. Right? That's why a lot of people prefer their computers. Because, dealing with that neighbor was too much, right? But this is how a transcendentalist is going to deal. Not for inert things and active things. And finally, the final slokas, the final 2 slokas, symptoms of one who has transcended the modes, and that these modes actually, that the Brahman stage, which is the platform, again, Brahmabhuta platform, it's not the end. It's not the end. It's the first stage of realization, of God realization. It goes further. So all of us here have understood that, and you're here to worship Krishna, the Bhagavan form. You wouldn't be sitting here. I don't think there's anybody here who's a Brahmabadi. And I doubt that a Mayavadi is going to stay too long. Okay? Everybody, so far you got the foundation? First one is what? How we're bound, right? And how we got here. We're all sitting here. We want to know our genealogical history. Goes back really far. What keeps us here? And then the middle section, what does that do? Chad, what does that do? Characteristics, according to the modes, action and its results, and finally, destination at death, right? And that's why we want to know this. Because we have the choice to go all the way up and all the way down. That's why they pray in the heavenly planets, let me take a human birth. I can start my bhakti. You can actually initiate bhakti in the human body. It's a rare opportunity. But the demigods cannot do that. They have to live out their pious credit. And the scary thing is that Prabhupada said most of my disciples will go to the heavenly planets. Do you know what that means? They'll come back when the Sankirtan movement is over. Do you want to be here when the Sankirtan movement's over? They would ask Prabhupada, what's it going to be like when the Sankirtan movement is over? He said, you don't want to be here. Because this is one of the worst yugas ever. Take a look outside already. Just step out the door. Okay? So you got your foundation? All right. Let's watch a little video now. Are we ready? We're going to see our first one here, and we're going to start the process. I got carried away, didn't put the paper in right away. We're going to watch the video, and we're going to show you the purpose of this science experiment. Remember, Krishna consciousness is science. I don't want you to think I'm just an art teacher. I happen to be one, but we're going a little deeper than that. We're going to see the purpose of this is the danger of association with the modes. They're infections. And we're going to follow his express. So watch the video and we'll do what he says. Okay, go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm going to show you a really cool coloring thing experiment. All you need is 10 cups of water, food coloring, 3 colors, blue, yellow, red, and some paper pellets. Let me show you how to fold paper pellets in an experiment. Take a paper pellet, fold it in half.
And we did that.
Press it down slightly, and fold it in half again. Then, fold it in half, this way lengthwise, and press it down.
And we did that.
Put it in paint. Cut a little bit off the end.
We didn't have to do that. It was already trim.
And then what you're going to do is you're going to fill every other above with about half a cup of water.
Now, we went ahead and had this ready because I didn't want to mess and probably.
Good. And all you need to do is add your paper pellet.
Okay.
Watch what happens.
Now, we will not maybe see the whole thing happen in this period of time. We have empty cups, and we have cups with the primary diseases in them. So as this class progresses, we want to see what's happening in the middle cups. The video shows you what will happen. Now, in this video, again, there's a point to this. The point is association. Did you see what happened? The plain cup between two colors took on the qualities of the two colors. By our association, we don't even need to try. It happens, like crystals. We're not going to mix anything here. I'm not going to do anything. I'm an art teacher, but we teach kids how to take orange and red, yellow and red, and you get orange. But just by contact, the orange automatically will fill up in the middle. So the point of this demonstration is, what's the word? Careful association. All you have to do, you see people with their dogs and people with their cats. That living entity is trapped in a mode, and that mode is an infection. These are infections. I don't have the order proper here. Goodness is an infection. It's binding. Red is worse. The disease is further. And blue is quite serious. And the modes can be, according to the degree, they can be as thick as this, as you go down, or they can be pretty little ribbons or fine threads. In the higher planets, it's described in the Bhagavad-Gita that those sages, there's a subtle sense of sense gratification. They call them golden threads that are binding them. What to speak of us? It's a serious thing. So try to understand that the people you are around, things that are you around. Later in the 17th chapter, we're going to talk about the 10 conductors of the modes, the food you eat, the water you drink, the places that you stay, the association that you have, the books that you read. All of those conduct the modes. You see, this is a conduction process. So the point is careful association so that you come out to the original purified consciousness. In the purified consciousness, you can see the spoon. Can you all see the spoon? There's a clear spoon in there. Can you see it? Can you see the spoon in the other ones? Only a pure devotee can assess the problem. He can see. Like a doctor, he can diagnose. Well, you're mostly in ignorance, you have a little passion, and once in a while, you slip into goodness, or whatever. They mix and they compete. Unless you come to goodness and you stay fixed in goodness and elevate out, these modes will compete and they'll keep us here. We need to come to this platform, and only someone who's on this platform can diagnose us. Krishna is the master physician, and the guru is the specific specialist. He's the specialist. He can say, you have this kind of body, you have this kind of... You don't condemn the body, but you say, this is the treatment for your particular body. So without the guru, can you do that? Without a doctor, can you treat yourself? No. We're not just giving us a fun class here. No, this is serious business. Okay? So we've done that. Now, again, we could do more detailed stuff. I think we want to, we've talked about the point of this, and you know the point of this. The point of this is what? Choice. The point of this is conscious association with people who are Visuddhisattva. Right? Okay. Now, let's look at some art slides. We'll try, I think, because again, we have sloka slides, we've done, but I really took a lot of trouble to try to make visible what we don't see. So we've watched this. The point, and here's amazing. This is in the CC. 3 times 3 is 9, right? Prabhupada says these colors, 9 times 9 makes 81. Now that's amazing, because my little book, 1881, it just coincided. 81 combinations, and then you multiply that, and you multiply that again, and you multiply exponentially, and you get 8,400,000 species. Just like a person who's a designer. All these combinations are coming from 3 colors. We're going to watch another little video in which it's just a short video, but only 3 colors, and you see a perfectly photographic painting of a flower. Material nature has done that. We are sitting here, and we're combinations of all subtle mixtures. The BBT, when it puts out a book, they have computers that can detect which color has to go in to reproduce a painting. Material nature's doing that automatically. We are sitting here and we are created like a painting. So let's take a look at that little quick video. Because an artist is, again, these are parallel examples that are 100% perfect. Analogies are valued according to their comparative points. This is the finished painting. Only 3 colors were used, nothing else. This is the mindset, the mental body. What did I desire? The subtle stages. The definition as it develops. Layers and layers of glazing. Final picture. Would you have believed that that artist only used 3 colors? No. Material nature, how many does she use? And what does she get? Look around. No package is the same. Every one of us is sitting here as a combination of those three colors. Infinite. Infinite. Okay? Okay, let's take a look at some of those slides again, because I find these, and this is a little bit of color theory. You have yellow, blue, and red, and then when they combine, they make orange, green, and purple. I don't know if it's going to take time to do that. We'll see. And then intermediate colors, then you get yellow, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, blue. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Infinite. But in school, we usually teach those primary, secondary, and tertiary colors and how they go well together or fight. Okay? And here's an artist. ISKCON painting, beautiful. That painter knows this. How does he come up with that picture? Through knowledge. Next, we'll just take a look at some pictures. And here, application. I saw this cute little picture of Gopal, and he's got a special dress too. And we have another picture. Here we have some slides on, these are BBT slides. Death in the modes, you see, lower planets, then staying on Earth, higher planets, Prakriti. Those are slokas 14 to 15. Okay? Death in the modes, Prakriti. And then here's another painting which also shows going to Goloka. And if one acts a certain way, the kind of body nature will give you. If you want to be a dog, be a dog. Right? Next. Destination. Lower abominable planets. Staying on Earth as a king, or going up to the heavenly planets. That's sloka 14:18. That's one of the key memory verses. Food, that's going to be discussed in chapter 17. Again, these are preview pictures. Again, I can focus on slokas, but I wanted you to get a broader view of the importance of this chapter and its relationship to all three. Food is covered in the next one. Food in ignorance, food in passion, and food in goodness. As devotees, of course, it's beyond that. It's prasadam. That's transcendental, and that's purifying. But even you'll see there are some people, they're vegans or vegetarians, they're coming close. But they're still going to incur reaction. They're still going to incur reaction. They're going to have to stay in the modes also. Okay? This is an important sloka, because this one, Prabhupada says, this sloka stresses the importance of why we need to fix ourselves in goodness, because the modes are always fighting for supremacy. Sometimes passion wins over the other two, or ignorance wins over the other two. So you have to try to stay fixed in goodness to be the springboard to Vishuddha-sattva, pure goodness, to get up and out. You can't get out from passion and ignorance. You have to be fixed in goodness. And that has its binding aspects also. It's a trap. So there's a binding. Here we go. Here's a color sample. I remember I was helping one devotee choose colors for the temple, and he had one of these. You could see 8,400,000 species. Look at all those variations. If you wanted to paint a particular door, a particular color, then, they analyze that on a computer. How much of this, how much of that, to the drop. Material nature is doing that automatically on all of us. What kind of body you have, what kind of mood you have. We're all here in a conditioned state. So think about that. It's not accidental. Not one thing's accidental in the creation. Nothing is an accident. Okay, next. And then we saw the painting, and then what else? Were there some other pictures in that? That was it. Okay, so you saw the slides on that. All right. Let's go to the slides on the strings. We're all moving under strings. This happens to be a really cute picture of puppets. Believe it or not, that's the way it is. We may not like the idea, but it's the way it is. So we hope when you leave today, you'll keep that in mind, that what you're dealing with, and not that you should disregard it. The way to transcend that is to see Krishna within everybody. But externally, you have to understand that all of us sitting here, as we move and walk around and raise our eyelids and raise our hand, whatever, strings are doing it. And it's a different sort of vision. And you realize, wait a minute, I may not want to interfere with that person because he's being conducted by something else, something higher, a lot higher than me, right? Okay, so what's that? Yeah, here we have again. People do not realize they're acting under the spell. They don't see the strings. Anybody here see the strings? Do you believe in them? Yes, you have to. But go beyond that. Conscious awareness of them. You see something moving, somebody moving, just imagine the strings. Okay, some more. Oh, this one's a cute one. This, I didn't get to all the slides I wanted to make. These characterize the people who are in goodness and they think they're better than others. This is the danger. When you have more knowledge and you're happy, you're complacent and you think, oh, I know more than he does. And that makes you slip to passion. So it's very hard to be in goodness. Very hard. Okay, and how about the monkey? He's in ignorance, right? And the sloka for that one is a lot of people think if you're a human, you don't go down. That's not true. There are a lot of monkeys in Vrindavan. And in their last life, they were probably here doing something they shouldn't have. This is not the place to do something wrong, is it, Vrindavan? No, it's far worse here. So be careful. And be careful who you're around, too. Okay, and here's a cute one. Now here's a lady, I didn't have time to put text with this. She's in New York and she's made a puppet of herself. She's absorbed in her identity. And the puppet is feeding the squirrel. I wanted to show you some cute puppet scenes, okay? Here's a scholar again. Prabhupada writes in a purport, he is satisfied by his work. This is mode of goodness. They're happy by their intellectual endeavors. Philosophers, poets, musicians. They're happy, they're satisfied. But they'll stay in that kind of a position birth after birth after birth. No impetus to get out. Only Krishna consciousness shows you that you should get out and gives you the opportunity and the means to do that. So he looks, this guy's obviously happy, but he's not wearing tilak, so, his happiness, Prabhupada calls it miserable happiness. In the material world, there's no happiness. It's just that they're miserable happy. Okay? This is Don Quixote. It's a famous story. He's a foolish warrior. So what mode would you think he's in? He's passionate foolish, sort of a mixture of those two. Let's play a GPI. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. GPI. Remember when we go to the doctor? We will do a GPI test. This is a GPI test. Goodness, passion, ignorance. Which combinations do you see here? What would you say about this fellow? These are all puppets. Oh, beautiful puppets. What would you say about this one? What GPI? Which one is that? Goodness, passion, or ignorance? Passion. Yeah, he's a king. He's a king. How about this fellow? Dog. Yeah, and I heard in a class, and I've heard Prabhupada say it too. In his former life, a dog in Sweden was Nehru, the Prime Minister of India. A Prime Minister of India, and they still honor him, Nehru. In his next life, an astrologer said he took birth in Sweden. It's a dog. Now, it's pretty risky business. Prabhupada knew. Why did Prabhupada give his blood for all of us? It's a dangerous, dangerous position. Human life is rare, but it's risky. This one's in total darkness. He's foolish. He doesn't know what's happening. And he doesn't know that he's completely directed from the top. Next one. Which one is this? He's sort of a mixture of happy fool. He's foolish but happy. Okay, another one. These look puppets, but if you look around, you might come close to seeing people who look like this. Right? It's not that unusual. In Kali Yuga, come on. What would you say? He's a doctor, so he's probably a lot of goodness, but his attitude problem, right? He's got an attitude problem. Okay, what about, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Sex attraction, which mode is that? Passion, right. That's the symbol. Sex attraction means passion. How about the next one? This is Shakespeare. What about him? Mostly goodness, yeah, the poets, he's a great playwright. He was also Rosicrucian. He had some mystical insight. Okay, next one. Now we're going to go to the Polish tour. I downloaded these Indradumna Swamis in Poland. They're doing a Polish tour right now. And these actors are obviously doing the Ramayan, but they're specifically there to strike a pose because they want to attract the audience and keep their attention. So they do that by gesture. Otherwise, if they just walk around the way we do, who's going to watch that? You can see that anywhere. So when you go to a drama, it's dramatized. In drama, you're supposed to exaggerate. You're supposed to exaggerate movements. You're supposed to exaggerate your voice because people's attention span is 10 seconds. So they're going to get bored. They're going to get bored. Kali Yuga, 10 seconds. It's not a 1,000-year sacrifice, folks. So here you see what they're doing. Now this is Ravana. Now notice how he's jumping in the air. Okay. But even as a devotee, are there strings on this man? You bet there are. So now what we're going to do, we've seen the puppets. We're going to look at devotees, but you're going to put in imaginary strings. And do that from this point on. Next slide. Ravana used to worship Shiva. Mode of ignorance, Guna avatar. Next slide. And obviously these monkey soldiers, I don't know who the clown is. But it's colorful. Next. And here's some ladies too. Striking a very interesting pose. Next. Yeah, you see the gentleman and the two Mataji's. Are there strings attached to their hand? You bet they are. They're working under strings. They can't move by them. Nobody's moving by himself. Next one. And I don't know if this Vibhishana, who this is, or Ram, I don't know. I didn't see the drama, but again. All right. Did we see the little video on the strings? Let's take a look at that one. I love this so much. It's a very short thing. And if you can't hear it all, but he says here how these invisible strings.
3 qualities of material nature.
Very short, not even a minute.
Life in this world is very diverse due to the presence of the 3 qualities of material nature, which in the Vedas are called gunas. Gunas are the invisible energy threads that bind or condition the living entity by a certain type of body and psyche. There are 3 gunas or modes in total: goodness, passion, and ignorance.
That's it. So try to picture what you saw. You saw the puppets? You saw the dramatists? And you saw this. We are conditioned on the psychophysiological level by these invisible threads. It's a brilliant movie. Just a short thing, but I thought so graphic. And that the particular forms that we have are made up of those threads. Pretty scary, too. Let's take a look at that one characteristic slide, too, where we see the 3 masks. Yes. This is an essence of all the slokas, because we want to go through some slokas also. Happiness is in goodness. This is general. And it's amazing, because usually you see theater masks, and it's just hatred and comedies and tragedies. But this particular one was unusual because you have the fellow in the middle, the 3rd one. Distress is the symptom of passion. So the simple thing is, if most of the people on the planet are in passion or in ignorance, can they be happy? Not possible. Money will not help them. Economic development will not help them. Happiness, if somebody says, I'm not happy, what does it mean? He's not in goodness. It's the only way to be happy. Only, only, only. So here, madness, what does that do? in ignorance. The fellow in the middle, he's gone insane. Most of the planet now is slipping rapidly into deeper and deeper levels of tamagun. And it creates a very dangerous environment. At any minute, the planet could, just be blown up, gone to war. Or if you don't, not even immediate, just slowed eating up the planet by resource exploitation. So it's serious business. So goodness, but the problem with each of these modes is they're bound by these qualities. You're bound by happiness, you're bound by knowledge, you're bound in passion, you're bound by fruitive activity. And in ignorance, you're bound by madness, indolence, darkness, inertia, delusion. Horrible. And all these modes are fighting to keep us here. So this is serious business. Okay? Should we try some slokas now? So we did most of our fun things. We saw the videos. And you basically know the structure. And you know that in the next chapter, 17, when we get to 17, by Krishna's grace, we all make it, we'll talk about more external more details. Let's do some slokas together. It should be fun and easy now. Okay? Again, we have the key words, and I'm just going to give you an outline of how Krishna builds his case. He's a brilliant facilitator. All right? The first thing he does in the first sloka, and you can get your slokas out, he's a salesman. He's going to tell you why his product is the best. Otherwise, there's no motivation to buy the product, right? And he's going to say, I declare this is the best knowledge, supreme wisdom. And he even gives you somebody to refer you to. All the sages became perfect. It's not a bluff. Material world, it's just cheating. They're lying to you. That particular cream won't make your wrinkles go away. You know what I mean? It's just a bluff. Cheaters and cheated. But Krishna's not bluffing. He makes his promise, and then number 2, he tells you, if you do this, if you're established in this knowledge, you attain the state of my nature. And you're not born at the time of creation, and you're not disturbed at dissolution. So he's giving you the result, the promise and the result. And then he's going to tell us how we got here. Now here he describes Brahman as being nature. Sometimes Brahman is not understood to be nature. In this case, it's defined to be material nature. And this is our history, folks. We were impregnated by his glance into the material energy. All he had to do was glance. Each of us, atomic consciousness particles, were impregnated into material nature. Now she's the mother. Even the materialists say Mother Earth, right? But they don't know who the Father is. So in the 4th sloka, Krishna's going to tell us who's our Father. We are all sitting here and we all have one Father. And who is that? Krishna. So in the 4th sloka, he's going to say all the species of life, I am the seed-giving what? So we're all brothers and sisters. That's a nice concept, right? You'll treat each other a lot better if you see that way. See, wait a minute, that's brother. He's having a hard time, but let me help him. Okay, in the 5th sloka, now he's going to tell us what was the problem when we came here. By coming in contact, and unfortunately this experiment, it's working a little bit on the towels. You see them changing color. If I put the napkins in that last night, that worked within an hour. But you get the point, right? If you come in contact with nature, immediately you come in contact with these diseases. So that's that sloka, number 5. The problem is he's defining the beginning of this chapter. First he gives you our history, and here's our problem. We came in contact with material nature, and thereby we have become conditioned by these 3 modes. Now, these are, you see the stars, that's number 4 is a memory verse. 6, 7, and 8 are thematic because they'll tell you how they bind us. In 6, we're bound by knowledge and happiness. This is the mode of goodness. In 7, we're bound by fruit of desire. And in 8, we're bound by ignorance, delusion. Those 3 slokas. You see how easy it is to understand these verses? This is what you call a functional understanding of the purpose of what he's saying. Don't worry about just the verses or memorizing them. What is the function? This is functional. Because if you know the function, you see the flow. You get the point? The last one, number 9, he repeats his point. Any good speaker introduces it, and at the end, what does he do? Summarizes it. He repeats it. So you got it. You see how many times we try to repeat something? 3 times. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama. Why? The Shastras do it all the time. 3 points means emphasis. So any good writer introduces the topic, develops it, and he repeats it at the end. That is the example that Krishna sets in the whole Gita. Chapter 2 introduces the book. Chapter 18 wraps it up. Right? Am I correct? You see, he's the example. And once you know that, you'll begin to understand how these chapters hold the keys to your understanding of the Bhagavad-Gita. All right, ready to do some slokas? We'll try a few. Okay, here we go. Now you know. Now when I stop, you all loudly, and there are a lot of you here, you loudly fill it in so the people listening on the audience can hear. Because this way you're and I'll try to stop at keywords, okay? And the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, again I shall, louder.
Declare.
A little louder?
Declare.
That's better. Because that's what it is. This is serious business. I, to you, this supreme wisdom. Are you all following? Can you see it? Okay. Now he's advertising. The best of all,
Knowledge.
knowing which the sages have attained the supreme.
Perfection.
This is his motivational approach. And he's giving you examples. Next. Now he's going to tell you the result, if you do it. By becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature, like my own. Thus, that means you're fixed, not just once in a while. One is not born at the time of, or disturbed at the time of. You've transcended birth and death. Not a bad deal. Number 3, what's he going to do in this one? He's going to tell us how we got here. Functional. Remember, look at the verses in terms of their function. The total material substance. Now, this is unusual because normally we don't consider material energy to be Brahman, but here the term is used. Called what? Brahman. Is the source of, and it is that Brahman that he just uses his glance. That's all. He glanced and the particles go right into nature, making possible the births of all living beings. O son of Bharat. Number 4. Now he's told you the mother, now who's the father? It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material, and that I am the he's the seed-giving father. There he is. Okay. Now, the problem is here. Number 5, this introduces why this chapter is being spoken. Contact. I'm sorry this isn't working faster, but you all got the idea. Material nature consists of 3 modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes into contact with nature, Almighty Armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned. So that's what happened to us. We became conditioned. The minute we come into contact, trapped. Next. Now he's going to describe in 6, 7, and 8 the binding, conditioning characteristics of each mode. So this is goodness. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating. And it frees one from all sinful. That's what's causing suffering. So if you're freed of suffering, you feel relief. right? Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and two things. Very dangerous. It's better, but it's not enough. It's better, but it's not enough. Now, passion. What does this do to us? Because some of us being on the... Here's the thing. Human body means... Planet means mostly mode of passion. But even in those divisions, you get characteristics. General is passion, but you get people who are in goodness, and you get people who are in passion, and people who are in ignorance. So it's not clear-cut. You saw all these colors. Right? It's not clear-cut. The mode of passion is born of unlimited hankering. I've got to have it. 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 And longings, O son of Kunti. And because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material, fruitive action. He wants the results. Grossly. The science is subtle. But the material is gross. More money, more big house. Gross. More. Not enough. Paul Getty was once asked what his desire was. He just said one word, more. It's never enough. Because lust can never be satisfied. It just burns more. So it doesn't work. Delusion. This is a famous painting by Picasso called Guernica. And he painted this during the war. I think it was World War I. Looks pretty scary, huh? O son of Bharat, know that the mode of darkness born of ignorance is it's the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence, and what? You all went to sleep on that word. Come on, what is it? Sleep, okay. Which bind the conditioned soul. Everybody's getting tired. Don't worry, we won't put you through too much. Next. Condition. O son of, now this is the final one and it wraps it up. 9th sloka. O son of Bharat, the mode of goodness, conditions one to happiness. Passion, conditions one to fruitive action. And ignorance, covering one's knowledge, binds one to... So you see all three in the picture. Okay? Next. Now we're in the middle section, and what we're going to do is just look at the words again and analyze, and then we won't spend so much time on each sloka. We'll just look at the pictures for the next two sections, because it's getting late. Now go back to the dots. Okay? Here we have only one keyword, number 18. But here it's important because number 10 tells us how they compete. 11 tells us the symptoms of goodness. The gates of the body, the eyes and the nose are all illuminated. 12 is passion, attachment sets in. 13 is what? Darkness. So he's describing the modes more in this section. 14, he's telling us death. That we go in death to the planets where the sages are, higher planets. 15 and has two, passion and ignorance. Passion, you stay here, or you can go down. Ignorance, definitely down. Animal or lower planetary systems. Now he talks about results and development. He repeats everything in 16. The result in goodness, passion, and ignorance. And in 17, what develops in goodness, passion. And he's repeating the same words every time. What develops. 18, again, he repeats, where do we go? You gradually go upward in goodness. In passion, you can stay here. And in ignorance, you have to go down. You get the summary? So we'll just look at the pictures now, okay? We won't read the slokas. This is a picture to show what? Competition. The modes are competing. That's why Prabhupada says you have to come to goodness, stay fixed to get out. Krishna consciousness is the solution. Krishna consciousness is that jar. Next sloka. The gates of the body. Now these are the chakras, but it doesn't represent the 9 gates, but it's the best picture I could find. The chakras are also affected by the modes. When they're illumined, that means goodness. Next picture, attachment. Now he got his head detached. But all of these demons wanted the nectar. They were very attached to Mohini. And they did what she said. She tricked them. How about the next one? Darkness. Ignorance. It just brings dark. Nobody knows what's going on, what's happening to him. He's totally covered. Next. Now, again, destination at death. You go to the higher planets. The highest planet you can go is Brahmaloka. But again, those sages are bound by fine threads, subtle. Next. Mode of passion. You can take birth among those on earth, be a king or something. Or you can go down to the animal species. And we had 2 pictures for that. We didn't know which one to pick. This one shows all the varieties possibly you can have in an animal body. Take your pick. Many life forms. Next one. Now here's the result of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Here's Ranti Dev, right? And then in the middle we have King Yayati. He did something he shouldn't have, and he was condemned to suffer invalidity in old age, and he wasn't happy. He traded it off. He made one of his sons take his old age so he could still enjoy. And finally, Daksha. What happened to him? That's what you call foolishness. He had to take the head of a goat. Okay? And we had another picture there. We didn't know this was Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, and they were doing something they shouldn't have, and Narada cursed them. Passion brings distress. You want to be sure if you want to do something in passion? Guess what? What will follow? Distress. Okay? And what develops? If you're in goodness, knowledge develops. If you're in passion, greed. Duryodhana. I'm not giving them even the land that a pin would fit in. So greedy. Not even 5 villages. Nothing. I want it all. And finally, this one, what happens here? Ambarish and Durvasa. He had to be chased all over the whole universe after what he was in. That was a very unhappy situation for him. This is what happens in these modes. It's in the Shastra. You don't have to go too far to figure it out. Okay, next. And we had 2 pictures for where do you go. This is a beautiful, we chose this because it was beautiful. This shows all the way down to the Garbhodak Ocean and all the way up to Brahmaloka. And we have another picture here, and that's our chart here. If we stay in the 3 planetary systems, we can go as high as Brahmaloka or as low as the hellish planets in Garbhodak Ocean. But if you go to up to Krishna Loka, you're above the 3 modes, and that is our aspiration. Next. Okay, and we see here. Now, this is important, this section. We have here, if you see only the performer is the modes. Now, hopefully you all see that when you leave today, and that Krishna is above them, that in number 20, you can enjoy nectar in this life. It's not hopeless. And now Arjuna in 21, well, tell me, you told me the symptoms about the modes. I want to know the symptoms of someone who's transcendental. So we're going to get 4 verses that give you those, and we have some quick slides just to look at the symptoms. 8 points there. 26, the answer. Unfailing, uninterrupted, untinged devotional service. That's pure. No tinge, no break. 24/7, no motive. Think about it. That's not a cheap thing. 24/7, no motive. No break, no motive. And 27, this is the platform of Brahman, and this is just Krishna is the basis of the Brahman. It's not the end. Okay? Now, let us take a look. We won't look at the pictures quickly. The performer is actually the modes, and Krishna is beyond them. The next one, nectar. This was Prahlad. After the whole thing, he was given the kingdom. But he said, don't worry, Nishringa, you won't be affected. You can enjoy your life. Next, symptoms. Here we have the colors. Symptoms. Next one, hate. He does not hate. These 3 qualities. The key to this section is be neutral, be equal. Brahman is the position of neutrality. Material world is the position of negativity. Everything is negative, negative, negative. Neutrality, I'm above that. But Krishna Loka is beyond that. It's above these qualities. And being neutral, here he is, Jad Bharat, unaffected. He's being neutral. And the next picture, we see some. External vision, he sees things equally. Gold, pebble, stone. Inanimate things, he sees them equally. He's not affected. Or the next one, he sees people equally. This is Jad Bharat. And he's carrying a palanquin, and he was the king of the world, emperor before. He's self-realized, And of course, unfailing, the best example again and again and again is Prahlad. Through all circumstances, his meditation never broke. Never, never, never broke. 5-year-old boy, tortured beyond belief, never broke. And finally, Brahman. This is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness, eternity. Okay? But it's the beginning. The devotees sitting here, we've realized, if you're here, you know Brahman, you know about Paramatma, and you're worshiping Krishna, Bhagavan. So you've gone beyond this platform. So the last thing we'll do is we'll quickly look at the 8 slides, that are the symptoms of those transcendentalists, okay? Number 1, he doesn't hate illumination, attachment, and delusion. Notice those are the 3 qualities, the gunas. Did you pick up on that one when you heard that sloka? Those are the 3 qualities, goodness, but he doesn't hate it or he doesn't desire them. He's neutral. This is very elevated. He's neutral to them when they are there or when they disappear. Now this is Prahlad, and he's met with the, and this is explained, he comes across this Avadhut. Right. This is, I'm trying to think the personality. I know who this is, and I'm drawing a blank now. Do you know the name of who this is that he met? No, there's a particular personality, but this is explained in, also. He comes across him, and he's a realized sage, the python. He's the python. Okay, next picture. Number 2, this person, unwavering, undisturbed through all the reactions of material qualities, he's neutral. This is the key. Be neutral. Don't be attached. Don't be averse. And he knows the modes are acting. There he is. His head's being chopped off. His head was almost chopped off, but he's just sitting there unaffected. This is the platform of a transcendental position. He's realized. Next person. He's situated in the self, and he grades alike happiness and distress. There's Narda. He was cursed by Daksha. He accepted the curse. He didn't counter it. He was neutral about it. Okay, next. Again, looks upon a lump, earth, a stone, or piece of gold with an eagle eye. The Goswamis, they were so austere. They ministers. They had so much knowledge, but they unaffected by material things. Sanatana Goswami had a touchstone. Where did he keep it? In the garbage pile. he unaffected. Next one. He's equal to the desirable and the undesirable. Ranti Dev. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva came disguised. And he sacrificed water, food, everything. The Chandala, the dog. he didn't discriminate. Next. Here's Jad Bharat again. Steady, situated equally in praise or blame, honor or dislike. He was condemned by Rahugana. But then Rahugana had to pay obeisances to him. Wait a minute. I offended a self-realized soul. So he had been blamed, and then he was honored, but he was the same. Treats alike both friend and enemy. Prahlad, please help my father. That's my only request. His father tried to kill him in so many ways. Just help my father, Nishringadev. That's all I want. Next. Renounce all material activities. Yudhisthira, take off the crown, take off the robes, take off the jewels, head for the Himalayas. That's it. So our last thing is just show this little thing again, and we'll wrap it up. Oh, those slides about the flowers and the animals, those chart slides, I want them to see that even within categories you get divisions. These are the analogy slides. The scorpion and the rice. People think that the rice produced the scorpion, but the rice, no, doesn't make scorpions. The scorpion laid the eggs in the rice. Next analogy, the body of 9 gates. In goodness, all of them are open. You see, like this little boy, their eyes are open, their ears are open, they hear, see, taste properly. Illumine. You're as good as gold, right? You see, this Prabhupada uses analogy between the Mayavadi concept and the Vaishnava concept. It's not one. We're always part and parcel. And when you're in touch with gold, you're as good as gold. When you become Brahman, you're as good as Krishna. Okay, next. He uses the example of the king for qualification. You cannot get to Brahman unless you're Brahman. You have to qualify. That's what that analogy proves. And the last one is the last sloka. He uses the king again. If you're in the king's court as a servant, you share in the opulence. It's there. The opulences are there. Krishna is full in all 6 opulences. So in his association, you partake of all those opulences. You cannot do that except on that platform. And then these last 2 little slides, and this is so cute. I saw this in the movie Cosmic Laws of Harmony. Even within the mode of good darkness, plants are covered, mode of ignorance. But there are some plants that are in the mode of goodness. They have fragrance. Some are in the mode of passion, no fragrance. Some are in the mode of ignorance. That is a fly trap. It has a nerve in it that triggers. When the insect presses the nerve, it's like a rat trap. And he eats it. It's a non-veg vegetable. Now let's look at these cute pictures of these little... This slide went out before. Even within the animal kingdom, you get gradations. The cow is in the mode of goodness. That's why you shouldn't eat cow. The lion is in the mode of passion. And the monkey in the mode of ignorance. Okay? So we'll end with the last thing and just watch that little video again. And we thank you so much for sitting out for an hour and a half. And you didn't get to see that happen. I should have used napkins. The paper towels were, it gets too thick. But so you get the idea that, remember, association, strings, and disease.
Really cool coloring experiment. All you need is 10 cups of water, food coloring, 3 colors, blue, yellow, red, and some paper towels.
And be sure you take some prasadam on the way out. Don't go without prasadam. Are you there? Who's the girl who's serving the prasadam? Okay, you should stand at the doorway. Because it's 7 and they want to probably go to Archie. And thank you for coming. Be sure to keep your things. We're not doing a second section. We wanted to keep it to 1 tonight. And remember, everything's on strings. Everything has a particular disease. And pick your association carefully. Haribol. Thank you.